What I'm about to tell you could extend your life by a decade. Not only a decade, but 15 years. This very likely is the most important video I will ever record just because of the possible impact that it could have. If you're willing to stick around for a little bit, I'm gonna drop some gems on you. As always, I'm gonna have everything timestamped up below if you wanna dip and dabble, jump around. But to keep a little of this YouTube foreplay going on, I'm just gonna tease you a little bit. I'm gonna share with you, could extend your life by 15 years. What do you think it is? I'm gonna give you a multiple choice. 1, social connection. 2, sleep. 3, accomplishment. 4, diet. 5, exercise. Social connection, y'all. It's proven. We have science, we have data out there now that being socially isolated is the same as a carcinogen. It equals the same as pretty much smoking a pack of cigarettes a day and can shorten your life by 15 years. So what I'm gonna do is split this video into 2 parts. We're gonna talk about the importance of social connection, a couple uncommon ideas around how to create friends, and the second part is give you actionable takeaways on how you can implement these ideas, these concepts into your real life, live a happier, longer life by up to 15 years. If that sounds great, stick around and let's jump into it. So where am I getting this information from? This is the longest running happiness study that we have to this day. It started in 1938. It's a Harvard study and it's been running for 85 years, and recently they released a book on it. And what the study is showing is the importance of social connection above everything else. I know it's important to eat right and get sleep and get exercise. All those things, yes, still very important. But more than all of that, what this study points to when it comes to happiness, what the participants are saying is the importance of feeling connected. Now, I say that intentionally. I don't say being only connected, I say feeling connected, because you can be around a lot of people and still feel alone, and you can be alone and still feel connected. So it's important here that we delineate those 2 things, that it's not just being around people, although that is a piece of it, but that you feel connected, that you don't feel socially isolated, that you feel like you have people that care about you. And that's what I'm basing this research off of, is this happiness study. And from all of the different pieces and parts of this study, I think there was 106 different determining factors around isolation. The biggest piece that defended against depression was having someone to confide in, having a confidant, having friendship, feeling socially connected. Before we jump into the actionable takeaways, let's talk about a few uncommon ideas around social connection that you may or may not know. I didn't know personally before looking into this research. If you're one of those people that feels like it's weird because you don't want to be that person that's like, oh, I'm trying to make friends, or you feel like you're the odd one out, you're not. There are more people, according to the research, that feel lonely than there are people that feel connected. So if you're out here trying to make friends, putting yourself out there, you're not alone, figuratively and literally you're not alone, but also this isn't something to feel weird about, to feel insecure about. This is something that is totally normal, and making the effort to be friends doesn't make you uncool. It's not slimy. This is something that I think a lot of people feel reserved about, insecure about, like, is that weird? I have to try to make friends? And it's not, because you're actually in the majority of people if you feel alone. So there are a lot of us out there that are trying to maintain and create new relationships. And if you're one of them, here are a couple uncommon ideas around connection that I thought were fascinating. And the first one is that we often underestimate how much people like us. People often like us much more than we realize, or more than we even think they do. We often project these different ideas on people. So we meet them and they frown, or we meet someone and their brow is furrowed. We're like, oh, they must not like us, when it's like, maybe the sun's in their eyes. There are a zillion things, but because we're in our own heads, we often correlate that to people not liking us. We underestimate how much people like us. And here's a little bonus tip. We like people more who we think like us. This feels weird saying the word tactic when creating friends, but it's true. It's a strategy that you can use. Is if you demonstrate that you like somebody, they're more likely to like you back. Often when we go into situations, whether it's on a trip or we go somewhere to a comedy show, or if we ever go somewhere alone, we often put on this kind of like mean, or it's strange, we always go to these places to meet friends, but then put on this kind of demeanor like we're too cool. And that is not great, because that often is like a negative signaling to other people. That's not gonna make people want to come up and approach you, unless you're hot. I'm jealous. But if you're not hot, like me and the rest of us, then we do what we can. And one of those things is putting on a friendly face, putting yourself out there, and making people think that you like them is more often you'll have a higher chance of them actually liking you back genuinely. There's another piece to this about connection that I wanted to just dial in on a little bit, because this I thought was really fascinating. And this whole friendship connection piece happens around sharing. So another interesting piece or uncommon idea around connection that we may not realize is that when we share with people, that kind of extends an olive branch. And that's another way that we get people to like us, is if we share something, if we're vulnerable. I'm talking about deep things, deep parts of your history or your interests or experiences, any of those things. If you feel like you're opening up and vulnerable, often people will take that you're opening up and it builds a connection. But there's a fine line here, because you don't want to overshare or do what the other person perceives as oversharing. The difference here is what builds the connection is that the person feels like what you're sharing with them is something special. They feel unique. They feel like you're opening up to them, and this is a rare occasion. If they feel like you're sharing this with everyone, the effect actually backfires and they like you less. So it's important here that we share, we're open, we're vulnerable, but that we are careful not to overshare, to make it very clear that what we're sharing is important, because that actually can backfire and create distance with the person if we're trying to create that relationship. Now that we got that out of the way, we're gonna jump into the second part of this video, which is the actionable items and the takeaways on how to actually build and strengthen and maintain these relationships. Here's a little trick that I heard in this podcast about this that I thought was really interesting. And often when we reach out to people, we ask, how are you doing? But like I said before, sharing is one of the key pieces to this. Being vulnerable is one of the key pieces. And so next time you reach out to someone to say, hey, I was thinking of you, how are you doing? Share something that's going on with you. It can be simple, but saying, hey, how are you? Here's a little life update from me, because it doesn't create that kind of superficial, how are you? I'm good. Today was hard. How are you? I'm good. Today was hard, right? There's this, this give and take. That's what relationships are, right? It's a push and a pull in that regard. And so next time you reach out to ask someone how they're doing, also share a little bit about yourself, open up, be vulnerable in one way or another. And that's a way to kind of create and maintain connections. Super simple, easy strategy. Another actionable takeaway, this is kind of starting from the top down here, is thinking about your friendship circle and what in the Harvard study they call your social fitness. It's interesting. We know about our physical fitness, right? You want to stay fit, work out, eat, but we don't often focus on our social fitness. And so in order to evaluate our social fitness, we should actually look into what our social circle looks like. Take the time to write this out. Dunbar's number is a real thing, right? They don't talk about this as much in this study, but it's pretty much you have these circles of friends. Draw out your in concentric circles, like what does your friendship circle look like? Who's on your third tier, second tier? Think of it as MySpace, bro. Who are you in your top 8 for real? Like plot those people out and plot out if that feels sufficient. If you have 3 people in your top 8, if you have 16 in your top 8, maybe you're trying to manage too many connections and you're unable to give enough to any one of them, or you only have 1 or 2 and you'd actually like 3 or 4 good friends. Actually plot out your social connections on your next birthday or next New Year's, next time there's a big event, and really look at it and then think about where you'd like to be in a year from here. Taking that social fitness from this, that was really interesting, was be willing to fight for your friends. What does this mean? A lot of times we'll have friends that do something to us, maybe they behave a certain way, or they show up late, they do something that kind of rubs us the wrong way, and we'll in our own heads say, I'm not going to be as close with that person anymore, and we start to kind of let it fade out. Intentionally say, we start to create distance with people without actually ever saying anything or being upfront. Hey, it really bummed me out that you were late. What was going on? Can we figure this out? Or maybe next time you text me, right? We don't want to have that conflict, but learning how to fight, learning how to have those interactions with our friends can actually really help them know that we care about them. And that is the piece here, is saying, hey, I care about you. I care about this relationship. It's important to me that we continue to do this. One of my best friends right now, she had an explicit conversation with me. She said, Kia, I need more from you if we're going to really make this friendship a serious friendship. She said, if you just want to be acquaintances, text her once in a while, that's fine. But if you want to be, a friend in my life, I'm going to need a little more from you. And she said that to me explicitly. And at first it rubbed me the wrong way. I said, who are you to ask blah, blah, blah? And then I said, I really respect that she knows what she wanted in a friend. And I said, okay, I'm down for that. I'll step it up. Tell me what you need in a friend and I'll do my best. And she's one of my best friends now. We talk every couple weeks. She's like my therapist. I should be paying her. You know who you are. And that was very important to me that she articulated that. And I wish more of my friends would say that, what they need from me, because once people tell you, then you know what kind of standard you're living up to, where a lot of times we're kind of keeping score in our own heads. And that doesn't do anybody any good because you don't know what rules you're playing by. So fight for your friends, and if you have to, fight with your friends in a good way, of course. My last actionable tip for you guys is to think about the contrast between what you're giving and what you're receiving. A lot of us, I think, give more than we receive. When it comes to friendship, again, it's a two-way street. There are some friends that you think you have or that you have, but when you really boil it down, how much are they just coming to you with emergencies? They need you to put fires out, but they aren't actually giving anything to you. I've had a lot of friends like that I thought, okay, I'm actually not getting a lot from this. This person just using me to kind of put everything onto me, but it's not an even exchange. And that's important, is that you do feel like you're getting as much as you're giving out of a friendship. Now, if you are giving a lot and the person is not receiving that well, it might be important that you cut that relationship off, because I like this example. I got this from the narcissism, and I often want to give people the benefit of the doubt. But what that doctor said in the narcissism research was, if you gave somebody an expensive vase and they dropped it and they shattered it, why would you give them another vase, right? And I think, to me, it's not about second chances. Like, of course, be open-minded, be cooperative, be considerate, but really pay attention to when are people using you and when is it more of a give and take and not just a one-way street. And so to me, I think that is really important. And for me, thinking about that more myself, of what that sort of relationship and give and take looks like in friendships that I have and that are important to me. So with that, y'all, this video could potentially give you 15 years of life. How crazy is that? I hope I just gave you a decade. No big deal. If in exchange for a decade's worth of life, you want to smash that subscribe and that like button, I wouldn't mind it. If you disagree, agree. What do you think in the comments? Let me know. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, and I'll check you on the next one. Peace.